So Season 6 is with us, and today I'm going to be talking about Rampart, of course the new legend. My name's Charlo44, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all having a great day, afternoon or evening. So basically with Rampart, there are lots and lots of things to talk about. Some are very simple, and then there's a couple of other little in-depth things that she can do, and a couple of other little things, tricks and things that are useful that you might not know. So I'm going to be talking about through all of those and going through that in detail. But before I get into it, do remember to never stop moving, never stop believing, and stay Apex. Right, let's get into the video. So, of course, we'll start off with the passive side of things. Of course, she gets a bit of a boost on LMGs. So, with the Spitfire and the Devotion, it normally has a 5-second reload speed. She gets it decreased down to 4 seconds. It's not much, but, you know, in terms of time and DPS and all those lovely things, it can make all the difference. She also gets a bit of a boost on the mag. Spitfire would be 46 on a level 1, 52 on a level 2, and 63 bullets, which is insane on a level 3. And with the time to kill the way it is now, that is plenty to kill maybe 2 people, maybe 3, who knows. The Devotion gets 46, 51, and 55. And interestingly enough, the Ulster also gets a quicker kind of overheat mode animation, which is reduced down to 3 seconds as well before you can use it again. Again, I mean, these are things that all encourage LMGs, and with the Devotion being back now in the normal loot pool, it's not something that I'm that keen on. You know, it is an overpowered gun, it's very strong, and this means that Rampart can kind of use it. So Rampart is kind of like, in that way, very user-friendly, very beginner-friendly. If you're a new player, or you're not that new, not that long been playing the game, she's an easy pick-up character to kind of use in that sense. Now, there is a little bit of depth to her, I have to say, and I've played with her in a fair few games, and I found that there's some things that are really simple and straightforward, and other bits that are a little bit more in depth. But again, this is what I'm going to come to. So passive-wise, I mean, it's a pretty good passive if you like LMGs. If you're going to run the Devotion, you know, I mean, you're just going to be able to tear through people quite easily, and with that quicker reload, it is very nice. Okay, so the next bit then, of course, is to do with the barriers that she can put up. So, at the moment, you can deploy up to a maximum of 5 at one time. However, you can only put up to 3, and then you have to wait 25 seconds before putting up another one, or another 2. Now, you can get around this if you need to by actually pressing down. Usually on the D-pad on PS4 it is. I assume it's very similar on PC and Xbox as well. And you can actually then remove one to then be able to use it straight away somewhere else. But of course, you've got to remember to do that, so it isn't always possible, and it's very situational indeed. It takes around 6 seconds to deploy. So again, there is a bit of time before it is deployed fully, and it can be destroyed very easily if it's in the process of being built up. But of course, if it's fully built up, it's going to take a lot more shots or grenades or whatever. It might take like 1 grenade or 2 grenades to blow it up. It can be very useful for using it for healing and things like that for your teammates, which you'll be sort of seeing these kind of things in the background to an extent through parts of the video. So these were just some clips that I took when I had a few games with her. Now, again, I'm not the most prolific player with her yet. You know, there's probably some other tricks and things that we're going to discover along the way. But these are things that are just useful if this is a character that you feel that you want to use and kind of just get a bit more familiar with. So, you know, when people are healing, I mean, okay, like in the background we're getting EMP'd. What I do is I heal up the shields, because luckily the EMP didn't really do much to me, and then you can put like the barricades. Unfortunately, as you can sort of see there, in the process of, it gets destroyed straight away. So you've got to time it a little bit correctly as to when to put it up. That takes a little bit of practice. But of course, what it does is it does extra damage. So you can get amplified damage literally if you shoot through the wall once it's fully built up. Which is crazy. You literally, I think, get about extra 5 damage on a headshot. When I tested the Vault, it did 29 instead of 25 or 26 or something like that. So it is about 4 or 5 extra damage that it does, which is really, really good. So yeah, so I mean, of course, like anything there, you can use the barricades to block doors. So if you're in a building and you want to then block someone coming through, say to heal, you could deploy 1 or 2 of those kind of these shields, if it's the only entrance that is, or you could deploy them around the 2 doors, and then you kind of box yourself into you know, the area, kind of a bit like Watson's fences in a way. It can slow down or prevent people getting into, of course, you know, the building, which is useful for giving you or your team time to actually heal. Now you can sort of see here that of course I'm putting up some barricades to try and of course give us a little bit of time to do that cover, give the Octane time to heal as well. You've kind of got to point the direction. It can still be destroyed, and unfortunately I still got hit by whatever bullets were flying. I think they were using a minigun with a Rampart as well, so unfortunately you're going to come across other Ramparts who are going to absolutely destroy your cover. So again, you got to be pretty wary of that, and you got to be very careful not to maybe stay in the one place at the same time. Often a lot of this now, since the time to kill is reduced, seems to be a lot about moving more, not staying still, not staying stationary, and not being a target, because unfortunately the time to kill, you die so quick now that if you make one mistake, it's even less forgiving than it was before. You make one slight mistake, you're dead, and it is that simple. I mean, you know, it is that crazy. So yeah, so before I continue with, of course, talking about the, you know, a bit more about the barriers and the other parts, something also interesting about this is that as I charge up my Phoenix kit, I do decide to do a finisher on the other Rampart because she's got a cooler costume than me, which isn't hard to be honest, and I do, of course, the normal standard finisher. Now, time from when the animation starts to actually the end, it takes 5.62 seconds, which would be ranked 26th slowest out of the 35 available finishers at the moment. The other one, No Mercy, which is the one you'd have to sort of like craft, comes in at 30th because that takes 6.03 seconds, so a bit longer. Just something I thought I'd mention. I've done a video on finishers slowest to fastest, not including the two Rampart ones. I'll post the link below because it is a really interesting video to check out. But yeah, I mean, going back to Rampart, you know, I suppose one of the big things that I did find with her is that initially, because I play an aggressive sort of playstyle much more, she didn't initially suit me at all. But as I played her a bit more, I realised that there were some elements that you could kind of, how can I put it, you could build up some barriers, but then you could also be aggressive with it, so you could play a bit of defense and aggression and kind of mix it in between. Now, I'm not saying it's absolutely perfect, but you know, sometimes in open areas, which World's Edge is a prime example. World's Edge is a very open map, personally not my favourite for that reason. I found it very hard early on, especially when I first started you know, playing Season 3. You know, compared to King's Canyon from the time I started the game, I found it very, very difficult to adapt to how open it was and how easily it could be shot. And then combine that with the crazy time to kill, the overpowered weapons, it's really, really hard to stay alive. But Rampart has a kind of like a mixture, and this is probably why they changed it to kind of highlight this. Whether they'll change the time to kill back, I don't know, and I'm hoping they do, because I'd love to see the shields back the way they were. The Evo shields could stay, they're awesome, but the actual time to kill is crazy now, and almost borderline Call of Duty, which I don't like. But as you can see, I mean, like in a confined area, I can build up a couple of barriers, and of course I'm able to then duck cover and heal up while being shot at, so at least I've got kind of like an element where I can actually try and stay alive. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have any health or any syringes, so it didn't really work out too greatly, but at least I was able to grab a shield from the box. But you see what I mean, though? It's just like I can duck cover, I can create kind of barriers. Now, alright, once I'd finished using them, what I could have done is remove them, so then I've got use of other barriers, but, you know, I suppose situationally, sometimes, you know, you can help teammates heal up and things, you might forget, but however, it's a nice little element, a nice little touch that kind of adds to her, and especially with the increased damage when you shoot through it. So, you know, if you can build up one for each of your teammates, you can gain a good position, you can then of course gain that increased damage, and it does make a big difference. Especially, I mean, LMGs, it would make a difference, but it does affect any gun, including her minigun, which is what I'm going to get into. So with the minigun then, so this is the next part that I would say is a big area. Now, the minigun is an interesting one. So if you were to say set it up and you were to shoot every single bullet whatsoever from it and hit your target, not that they'd ever live through that, you do a total of 2,422. Yeah, quite a fair bit, if I'm honest. But if you were to do it through the barrier, so through the amp barrier fully built up, then actually you would then do 2,618. That could kill maybe 9-10 people, maybe more. No, in fact, actually, it'd probably be more if you were to hit every bullet, which is unlikely. You're going to bound to miss some shots, but it is absolutely crazy. So the barrier is really good for sort of move. You can still move about. It's a bit less restricting than Watson's fences, but you've also then got the increased damage, which combined with the turret is pretty good. Now, the one thing that I did notice, and maybe was just something that came up, was the limitations of the turret. So when you are shooting from the turret, what I did find is that sometimes you had a bit of a restriction in kind of like this turning circle, which you will see in a clip very shortly. The minigun, interestingly enough, though, can actually destroy doors, which I've seen as well. So basically, if someone is trying to duck cover behind a door, heal up, you can actually just set up a minigun if you've got it and just blast through the door. So if they are blocking it, you can just pretty much absolutely destroy them and get maybe 1 or 2 knockdowns, if not all of them. So that is pretty cool and something definitely to bear in mind with how strong it is in that regard. Now, when you're sat on it, probably the biggest things is that it does take a lot of time to deploy. So bearing in mind that the barriers all take about 6 seconds to deploy, and you probably want to deploy at least 3. You're not going to wait around too long, so yeah, I'd say 3, 1 for behind you and maybe 1 in front and 1 on the side or something. If you're maybe near a wall, or if you're sort of like behind a barricade, maybe you can do less. But the turret takes time to set up. Once you've wasted all your bullets or used all your bullets, of course, then you can reload it, which takes around about 6 to 7 seconds to actually kind of like reload. And it sort of like has a kind of like an animation that you go through. Now, the ult takes around 2 to 3 minutes. I believe it's about 2 and a bit, but however, it's one of those things where, you know, okay. But yeah, a big thing is the turning circle of the actual minigun. It's very, very limited. It can only turn a certain angle, which will be shown in a minute. Now, that is a bit of a pain, and it means that if you set it up incorrectly and you don't set it up in the right position, you can't move it, unfortunately. You can take it away, you can remove it like you can like Black Market for Loba, by pressing like down or something on the thing, and you can remove it so no one else can jump on it and use it instead of you. But however, you can't redeploy it or reposition it, pick it up and move it or anything like that. You are stuck with, because where you place it is where you're stuck with. So that is going to take definitely a bit of getting used to. Also as well, you can unfortunately be shot from behind, so if you set it up incorrectly, you can be shot from behind, which is a nightmare. So she is definitely a interesting character, more than I originally thought, because she's got the mix of attack and defense. She's very easy to kind of use as regards to a new player, or a player that maybe doesn't want to use some of the other characters, isn't interested. If you like LMGs, she's definitely a good character for sort of like how many extra bullets she gets and the quicker reload time as well, because I mean at the end of the day, you know, DPS, damage per second, a second makes all the difference. Reloading 4, you're going to reload faster than some other people, and you can be doing damage before them. But yeah, here's the example. So this is a great example. So I set up 3 barricades, which is great. You know, you gain a fortified position. I kind of expected people to come running down that part, the pathway down from Sorting Factory, except for my teammate. But anyway. So yeah, the turret itself, it has a very limited turning circle. As I turn to the right, I realise that there's a Pathfinder unfortunately running, and I can't go and shoot him. You didn't really see it in the clip, but there was a Pathfinder there. We have to go and shoot him ourselves instead. So that is the main part of the video. Look, I mean, I can't cover absolutely everything. It is very, very hard to maybe cover every single detail. There's probably a couple of little things I missed, and if there's anything else you know, drop me a comment. I'm happy to hear feedback. You know, I literally find that she's an interesting character more than I thought, and I think that she will definitely be a meta legend moving forwards. But otherwise, that is it from me for pretty much for this video, so I hope you enjoyed. If you did, a like on the video really helps, and if you did want to subscribe, that would be fantastic. But until the next video, that is pretty much it from me, so thank you very much for taking the time to watch. I hope you enjoyed, and you take care. See you later. Cheers. Bye now.